forget all you know about podcasts. We welcome you to an experience uniquely different. Please join us for our coverage of all entertainment on the fringe of society. The candles are lit, the lights are down low. It is now time to welcome our host as he steps up to the pulpit. The sacrifice has been prepared for the midnight black mass.
Terrible tidings to you, my friends. Welcome to the Midnight Black Mass. It is I, the Reverend Dan Wilson, here for another edition of the program. Happy to be back with you here on the PoddyHumor Network. YouTube.com/PoddyHumor is the home for all of our great programs. Back with part 2 tonight of Jeremy Vane on the Wildside Chronicles. Had a great time chatting with him last week about his time in Wildside and much more, and we're going to do a little bit more of that this week as we play Word Association. A little Wildside Word Association at Jeremy's behest, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be back with one more part with him next week, part 3. Then we got All That Adam Jacobs joining the program. We got Todd Sexton lined up. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, we got another edition of the Rev's Rant this week. Nice response from my commentary last week about the status of bridging the generational gap in professional wrestling. And this week, I'm going to talk about turning off the mark button. What does that mean? A whole lot more coming your way here this week on the Midnight Black Mass. But first, got to get those plugs and appearances out of the way. Got to pay the bills. Come out and see me. I'll be out on the road just about every week at Empire Pro Wrestling at 22 Austin Avenue in Rossville, Georgia. They run every Saturday night. I'm not there every Saturday night, as I have other agreements and arrangements that I must attend to, but most Saturday nights you will find me there. They were what I would consider my home promotion at this point, as the compound in its secret location is not far from the Empire Arena, which makes it very easy for me to just hop, skip, and jump right on over there and handle business. But each and every Saturday night, 8:05 p.m., $7 admission, they're there, or $8 admission rather, they're there for you every single week with great wrestling action. You can find out more about them on Twitter at EmpirePW or on Facebook at facebook.com/Empire Wrestling. Then on Friday, the 7th of February, the Strong Style Psycho Tank with myself in tow will be appearing at Deep Southern Championship Wrestling at the DSCW Arena in Blue Ridge, Georgia, on a huge card that'll feature the phenomenal AJ Styles, Ring of Honor Corey Hollis, The Temptations, Sean Tempers, and a whole lot more. So you definitely want to make your way down to Blue Ridge, Georgia on Friday, February the 7th. On Wednesday, February the 12th, I'll be returning. Oh, the Rev returns to the big city, Atlanta, Georgia. Hot Atlanta that night, as the Rev returns to Actors Express for Platinum Championship Wrestling. What's going on there? Who the hell knows? I had a great time working for them the last time I was there. More in a host narrative capacity. That may happen again this time, or I might just get involved in the action. Who knows? But you definitely want to be there. PCW is a great crew with a great lineup and a great product, and glad to be a part of it there. Wednesday, February 12th at Actors Express Studio in Atlanta, Georgia. Follow PCW on Twitter at PCW. They're also on Facebook, Platinum Championship Wrestling. Look them up. Actors Express is also on Twitter at AExpress. So you definitely want to make your way to the World Wide Web and check out those links to find out where you can see the Rev in person. Because as much as I might entertain you here every single week on the PoddyHumor Network in one capacity or another, there's nothing like seeing it live, folks. I can promise you that. So, now that we got the plugs out of the way, brief Rev's Rant for this week. Got some tunage for you, a little Unspoken Triumph here coming up in a little bit to plug our buddy Ian Sharp and he and Josh Miller's new show here on the PoddyHumor Network, Last Action Zeros. So right after the Revs Rant, we're going to play a little Unspoken Triumph for you. But right now, I want to talk to my folks in the wrestling business, but also our fans. You can listen to this too, and hopefully you get something out of it and maybe understand where I'm coming. Tonight's topic, turning off the mark button. What does that mean? You say, well, Rev, first of all, calling anybody that likes wrestling a mark, if you use that going back to the Carney days where that would be a pigeon or someone you were trying to scam out of money, kind of an insult. And certainly, if you look historically at the root word, it could be construed as an insult, though that is not the intent. Simply insider lingo or jargon that means a fan or someone who is a paying customer who, doesn't necessarily mean that you're trying to screw them out of money, since everybody kind of knows what's up with wrestling now. Know that it, while very physical and real in many ways, is also very much a performance art. So you have two unique worlds that collide there. And so while in the old days where you were trying to con them into making them believe that what you were doing was legitimate, now it's more about sucking them into the stories and getting them to suspend their disbelief while they enjoy the product that you're putting on. And so mark now is carried over. It's not an insulting term. It just means a paying customer. However, as a professional, there's a line that you cross. When you start getting paid to be a professional wrestler or a manager or an announcer or whatever you are, then you have to learn how to turn off the mark button. And I agree. We're all marks to a degree. Hey, anybody who's ever been a fan of wrestling, certainly by this definition, would be a mark. And that includes 99.999% of the people in the wrestling business. And that's mainly why I'm doing this, actually. Because I understand the Royal Rumble was Sunday night, and I didn't watch it. I was busy recording podcasts and getting my hustle on. But I've heard a lot of feedback, and a lot of fans weren't happy, and that's fine. Hey, man, you paid your money. You're a fan. You got every right to not be happy with whatever they put on, and let them know about it. But also, if you're in the wrestling business, it really ain't your place. And I hate to say that, but it's the era of social media now, and so everybody thinks their opinion is important. And you're entitled to your opinion, but whether or not it holds any weight is another argument altogether. And so, I'll be maybe a little crude here, because I'm looking through my Twitter feed, and I'm looking on Facebook over the weekend, and I saw more marked shit than the bathroom at the Mid-South Coliseum in 1985. I mean, are you kidding me, guys? Are you kidding me? Come on. Most of you want a job in the WWE, right? Right? Like, most of you, I said it before on a podcast that didn't make air, but how many dicks would you suck to get an opportunity to work for the WWE? How many? Most of you that are out here talking shit. How many? So, and that doesn't apply to everybody, and I'm not bagging on everybody. Mick Foley raised a fucking stink about it, and so, Mick Foley was a fucking headliner there. He drew that company money. He's probably got a little more right to an opinion than people who never did anything for him, or, excuse me, hanging up a little lung butter there, the post-smoker fallout. Though the stuff that I cough up now is no longer black. It's actually like light green or clear, so that's a positive of quit smoking. But so anyway, guys just can't turn off the mark button. And it's unfortunate, because most of you are shooting yourselves in the foot if you are trying to get a job up there. And at the end of the day, does it really matter? Does it really matter? And moreover, if you're trying to present yourself, and the Royal Rumble is that's a minimal thing. Even guys I love and respect made some comments, and like I said, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Really, this is more aimed at the guys who I see every single week after every single show bitching and complaining about what TNA or the WWE is doing. And if you want to be considered a peer by these guys, if you want to be considered on their level, then you're never going to get that respect by being an armchair booker. You're never going to do it. If you're a fan and you don't have any aspirations of being a professional in wrestling, hey, bullshit away, man. I mean, that's America, you know, and even as much as I internally can raise hell about the internet wrestling community and how fans in that community try to dictate the way things happen, they have the right to. They are fans. They are not professionals trying to be part of the same industry. And when you are a professional, it makes you look bad. It really makes you look bad. So I do get tired of seeing the constant complaining about the big league products by fellow pro, quote-unquote, wrestlers. Because, and wrestlers in quote, because I'm not a wrestler, but fellow, should I say, pros in the wrestling industry. Because, frankly, yes, we are all marks for pro wrestling. Absolutely. But the smart money tells you when to turn that off and be a professional. And if you want to be considered on that level, you got to act like it. And that means not throwing your opinion out. That means showing some restraint. And hey, I'm not telling you this because I came off the fucking mountain and Moses handed me the fucking tablets to impart on the wrestling world and say, here's how it's done. No, it's not why I'm telling you that. I'm telling you because I made those mistakes in my young days. And I'm still an opinionated guy. But in my young days, I certainly was opinionated about all the wrong things and very publicly in front of a lot of people that I probably shouldn't have done it in front of. And it probably cost me. Let's be honest. I have probably said things over the course of my career that I wish I could take back now. As much of a fucking proud man as I am. As much as I say, fuck that, no regrets, no remorse. I definitely wish I could take back some of the shit I said in my young days, shooting off my mouth about wrestling in many capacities about many people. Now I'm old and I don't fucking care, and I actually will show more restraint now about shit than I would back when I was probably a high candidate for important jobs, and I probably shot myself in the foot. So, just a word to the wise, man. You never know who's listening. You never know who's looking at you. In the era of social media, everything you put on the internet is there permanently. It is a permanent record of you and your attitude and the way you look at things and how much of a mark you are. Let's be fucking honest. So, stop being such fucking marks. It's annoying. Like, we're all in this together. Like, I want to see wrestling thrive. I want to see the brotherhood thrive. And it's not going to do it if everybody's too busy worrying about what WWE and TNA is doing. As a young up-and-comer, should you be watching them? Yes. Fuck yeah. I always said it. People used to give me shit for watching wrestling, even though I really don't anymore. But I still got to agree with my young self there. Because the old-timers would give me shit for watching current wrestling. And it's no offense to the current wrestling for me. I just have other things that I don't have so much time. And there's other things, since I do wrestling professionally, there's other things that take up my time that I would rather do in my free time than wrestling. But still, I'll keep up with what's going on. I'll watch it every now and then because you gotta know what the industry standard is. You gotta know what the best guys are doing. So instead of sitting there and bitching and criticizing everything they do, maybe you should just sit back and watch and see what you can do to get there. Because whether or not you agree with what they're doing, they're the place. They're the place to make money. They're the only place that can give you a job. Pretty much. I mean, TNA is doing what they're doing, but, you know, their future is certainly cloudy. WWE, definitely the only place that can make you a millionaire. So, if you ever got any desire of doing that, keep your fucking mouth shut. And maybe, just maybe, you got lucky enough that they didn't see the mark shit you were spewing, so when you get your opportunity, they're not going to think you're some fucking idiot right out of the gate. Because those opportunities are fleeting. And if you've already got forces working against you, then you're fucking your own self in the ass. So, anyhow, end of the Revs rant. Like I said, just know when to turn off the mark button, guys. If you're in the professional community, if you are a professional, if you've gotten paid even $5 fucking to work a fucking wrestling match, then you're a professional. So fucking act like it. And that's all for Revs rant. Got the Unspoken Triumph with the Berserker's Prayer coming up next, and we'll be back with part 2 of Jeremy Vane on the Wildside Chronicles. Don't go anywhere.
Will kill
frequency, all that strikes against me.
Night Black Mass for another edition of the Wildside Chronicles. And coming back for a part two, my guest on the line. You knew him in the Wildside days as Jeremy V. You know him now, a fully fleshed out and realized individual as the untouchable Jeremy Vane. And welcome back to the show, my brother. Had a great time last week.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I'm glad to be back. You almost started without me out here.
Well, you know, we had the scheduling thing going on, and of course you were like 6:15. That works for me. And I said, well, hell, that's fine. Let's do it then. And I go to schedule the episode, and my options are 6 or 6:30. So I scrambled to let you know, but within 15 minutes, like hell, you know, I don't check my phone in 15-minute intervals sometimes when I'm just sitting around the house. So right. I knew we were playing a crapshoot. Well, hey,
I always shave and shower right before we do this show.
Well, you got to be professional.
I guess. I mean, I think it's just coincidence, but it's happened twice now.
Well, man, we had a lot of fun talking about Wildside and just the wrestling business in general. We got into a little bit of wrestling philosophy, and that was fun. And I foresee that continuing, but I think you specifically requested this edition to be a word association type of episode. So it makes my job easy, and I'm fine with that. But we could go pretty much all evening talking about the various personalities and crazy characters in Wildside. So let's go down the list and talk about a few. How's that sound to you?
Absolutely, man, because last time, we touched a little bit on the on the beginning, but, there's so many people that, I wish I had thanked or doubt or just didn't say anything about, and, you never know if you're going to get back around to it. So I took it upon myself to suggest that.
Hey, it's your time, man, and however you want to talk about Wildside, I am always open to suggestions. So,
very By the way, when do you get paid for this? I hadn't got paid for part 1 yet.
Checks in the mail, brother. Checks in the mail.
Oh.
You heard that old wrestling promoter bit, right? It'll come in the form of a balloon payment.
Why do I feel like this balloon will have Trojan written on the outside?
It very well might. You could talk a little bit about this guy, but I guess because just naturally he was pretty much the reason you ended up in Wildside, let's start the word association with the man that trained you, Mr. Stone Mountain. For those that don't know, Stone Mountain was a giant star in the early days of Wildside and a big prospect in the wrestling industry. WWF at the time really was eyeballing him as a future big man, and was one of those guys where things necessarily didn't work out for him, but he was a force to be reckoned with in the ring. So tell us about Stoney.
Oh, man, I feel like he's very underrated, but, most big men are because they don't get to do what they can do. I know I went on forever in the last show about the bumps that we learned in training there, and, how Billy Buck, he's probably the only one that can still do it without excruciating pain for days, and make it look so good. But, Stone Mountain, who taught us that? And I guess he could do it because, his bump card was empty. He didn't have to bump anywhere but training.
Right.
But he could bump like a champ, and, he could, took the most beautiful hip toss bump you've ever seen. And, it's just amazing, being, a guy being almost as long as the ring, jumping up and doing a perfect flip.
How big was he legit? Probably 6'8"?
If he was 6'8", I guess maybe. You always see them bigger than they are, especially when he had the hair. But, probably 6'8", 6'9", and, he was jacked.
I think he was built at around 7 foot, and, usually we like to play that exaggeration game in professional wrestling. Not to give away the trade secrets or anything, but usually guys are not what they're billed at exactly. In some cases they're more, but usually you throw on a few pounds just because it's larger than life, and you're on that stage.
Really?
There's not a real big difference.
Who knew?
Yeah, really.
But he. Did he ever have that Shawn Michaels performance where he bumped around for anybody? Probably not. And, I think
no, like
his run with Iceberg,
with Iceberg,
2003 or whatever it was less than inspired on his part. He was broken by the time, when the WCW thing fell through for him, he was just soured on the wrestling business after that. And now,
that happens with a lot of guys.
Yeah, when you're that close to getting a shot, I could see it. And then after that, and I don't think he had the love and the passion for it that a lot of us have. Because, or maybe it's just when you get that close and you find out you don't, you're not going to get it. Maybe that's the deflating part. I don't know. But, feel like I would have stuck around, but I could definitely understand where that would crush somebody. Especially with
definitely. I've seen a lot of guys that have gotten just that ever so close to that taste of having that contract, and then it gets yanked out from under them, and they just never recover. I've seen guys that even got the contract, got there, it wasn't what they would hope it would be, and they never recover from that either. It's the dangerous territory.
Absolutely. Bill Behrens puts it best. Helps people realize their dreams, or at least what they thought their dreams were.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, so we talked about Stone Mountain. What about the guy, speaking of Bill Behrens, the guy pretty much everyone recognizes as the driving force behind Wildside. There were a lot of of hands at various capacities, but certainly it wouldn't still be there. It wouldn't have survived. It wouldn't have had the talent that came through there. It wouldn't have had the legacy that it had, or the television, et cetera, had it not been for Bill. So, let's talk about him for a minute.
Well, this could be controversial because, there's all the rumors about Bill Behrens and the Young Boys, And by Young Boys, I mean, legal age, I guess I should explain that because that sounds very incriminating. I personally make a lot of jokes about Bill and Mike Posey, and he's always, gravitated towards, like, the guys with the troubled youth, and really mentored them. Well, I feel like I had a really good upbringing, and, I hate to use the term father figure because I think so much of my dad, but, Bill's my father in the wrestling business. And, he's never steered me wrong about anything. We've butted heads on philosophy a few times, and I think I've permanently ran him off from Royston because he never comes to visit anymore. But, he's always took care of me, when I bought my first car, I called Bill and talked to him about the deal, and everything, So in that regard, I've just always called Bill for anything, any advice I need, just because he's, he just seems experienced at everything. And even if he's not, he can sell you on it. So, I mean, he's just, I just can't say enough good stuff about him. I mean, I've learned 90% of what I know about wrestling from him, or from, whether it be from him directly or me listening in on his critique of somebody else's stuff. But, constantly learning around him. I mean, and so many promoters have there's got to be something in it for them. And I've just yet to see what's in it for Bill, other than just the passion for the business.
Right, yeah. I mean, he certainly has the times when he gets rewarded with his big clients, and his agency is grown very nicely. And but, he puts in a lot of time and a lot of hours with a lot of guys that he'll never see a return on. And he just does that because he wants guys to make responsible decisions, and he legitimately cares about the guys that have the same passion of wrestling or for wrestling that he does. So, yeah, I agree with you 100% there.
Good cat, well, Baron.
Say what?
Good cat, that Baron. I sure did hate the way I started that. God, I made it sound like he's a pedophile, for God's sake.
No, I mean, it's funny because, like, the boys always, Bill has a type of wrestler that he likes.
If they're not one of the boys,
they
might think Bill's a pedophile.
Right. I understand what you're saying.
I just wanted to correct that.
Fair enough.
And, Mike Posey's well into his 30s, I think.
Your piece has been stated. So,
and I don't mean that as
behind Bill.
Huh?
What?
I don't mean that as no disrespect to Posey. I joke about it to both of their faces, and obviously there's nothing going on there. Posey's just busted his ass, and Bill respects that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But go on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just don't want to, say anything.
Well, I was talking about I turned down that WrestleMania gig last week. Well,
yeah, Mike Posey accepted his, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did.
And he's done way more than I have, with or without Bill's help. So, I don't
let's talk about him. He's a Wildside guy. I met that guy going back when I first started working in Dalton, Georgia in like 1999. And he ran around with a crew of guys from Alabama with like Jack Lord and Adam Roberts and this dude named Monster Man. And he was always the most polite, friendly dude. And it was actually upon my recommendation that he got booked at Wildside as a referee because I thought he was an awesome ref. He was especially working the Dalton fucking, lower level shows. You didn't see many refs that fucking didn't wear blue jeans or fucking denim shorts, much less actually look like Rant. So, you know, I was impressed by him immediately, and he's a good guy, you know. He deserves everything good that happened to him.
Absolutely, and he went from one of the spottiest guys to just one of the better entertainers in the area. Like, I mean, he's, you know, the stuff he's got going with Franklin Dove and Cornelia is incredible. I mean, it's just so funny, and it's been going like 2 years now. He's in the perfect spot there. He's the ass that ever goes, and it's awesome.
Definitely. Well, so, like, you talk about Bill being the most influential person behind the scenes at Wildside, but not too far behind him would be one Jeff G. Bailey. I don't think there's much anything that goes through there that at least Bailey isn't, like, consulted on, whether, because, you know, his answer might be, that's fucking garbage. And then Bill might tell him, well, too bad, we're fucking doing it anyway. But like, nothing goes through there that he's pretty much not at least consulted about. So, you know, thoughts on him?
Well, I don't think they intend to consult him. He just, you know, makes his presence felt.
No, he insists.
But it's awesome for him to even care about your shit, you know? Like, there's been several times he's, you know, probably helped me out with stuff like, well, I mean, he's helped me out. I've learned a ton from him. And not to mention, you know, back in the day when it was him and Rain Man and him and Jason Cross, and, you know, all those guys, you know, for them to want to work with me. And, you know, they had to want to work with me or I would have never got the chance. You know, I mean, that meant a ton. You know, obviously he's respected. And he's, you know, if Bill's the heart of Wildside and stuff, I guess Bailey would be like the backbone because he's been the constant thorn in the side over the years. You can build guys around him, and he's constant. Guys will come in and out. The workers will be in and out, but Bailey's always there. And, I mean, as soon as somebody works with Bailey or is with Bailey, they've got instant credibility.
And it's just like the best manager, you know, that I guess you say never got a job, but I still wouldn't rule that out. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow he was like, well, they called finally, because I know he's been on the radar a few times, and just for whatever reason, somebody probably cussed out along the way, probably stamped it out in the final stages.
I mean,
but
you know, like, I feel like him and Jim Cornette, there's a lot of parallels, you know, in both good and bad ways. And in the bad ways, it's not that I disagree with any of them. I just think maybe it's, you know, not going to keep them or get them a job anywhere. But you know, I'm a lot like that. I remember I used to joke about Jeff being the asshole. I remember just telling him, man, if you ever talk to me like you talked to that guy, we would have had to fight. And, you know, like, he's just like, damn, you're calling me an ass? And then here we are, like, God, it's probably not even been 6-7 years later. He's like, it's funny, you used to call me the asshole, and now everybody I talk to calls you the asshole, meaning me, of course. And that's influenced by Jeff. I'm definitely giving him the blame for that. He should have taught me to handle myself better.
And I guess
you know how many times I've almost had my ass whooped because of his influence?
I can concur. Okay, you want to tell this? This is kind of breaking into your time a little bit, but you were there as a witness to it. And like, I don't really. I'm kind of embarrassed by it, but I'll tell it because it's a good story. When I accidentally punched Jacob Ashworth.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like, I didn't. That was all like you were talking about Bailey's influence. Like, I fucked up my knee in the War Games in the cage match with doing an atomic drop with Corey Chavis. Like, 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, and his one match, by the way, people.
Yeah, and then so like 2 or 3 weeks later, we're at the fucking at the building, and we're doing the spot, and it's like a brawl with everybody's in it, and like security's pulling us apart. And so I get up on the apron, and some security guard shoves me unknowingly, and I fall, and my fucking knee goes out, and like it required surgery, and I never got it. But anyway, fucking it sucked. It was like the worst physical injury that I had ever had as a fucking manager, but whatever. But I was so fucking pissed when I got them back, like a fucking, because I thought it was negligence on someone's behalf. It was not. It was just a fucking accident. But of course, when I'm freaking out and fucking, I'm like, somebody push me, and Dick's like, who the fuck was it?
Let's bring the fuck out of him.
And so they bring him back, and I was like, did you fucking push me down? And he started laughing because he didn't do it. And of course, I think he's laughing at my pain. And fucking Jeff's just like in my ear going, hit him, Dan. And so I fucking hit him like with two fucking like Mr. Burns fucking punches. And falls, and then fucking Corey Chambers freaks out and goes, you hit my homeboy, and fucking goes there and beats the hell out of him. That poor kid. And then fucking, of course, the next week I had to come back with my fucking hands in my pockets going, oh, shucks, I'm real sorry. And that kid probably should have whipped my fucking ass because he was twice my size, but he was a good, respectful guy that you trained there because he didn't.
I was going to say, the reason he didn't even fight back was because he's just that damn respectful. And, you know, don't get me wrong, like, all sympathy that he got out of that, you know, kind of has been out the window with some of the dumb, you know, things he's said while pissed off over the years. So, you know, it's kind of become a thing, you know, you shouldn't feel too bad about. And, I mean, I don't want to say that like I've got some problem with him, because I don't. He, you know, he works with me every single week, and I love him like a brother. But, you know, hey, we all make dumbass decisions sometimes. But anyway, he wouldn't fight back, and he was so respectful, and he wasn't going to go back. And I remember just making him go back, because I was like, they did you wrong. They, you know, they know it was wrong. They'll admit it. You know, these are, you know, because I just kept telling him, like, these are like my brothers, man. It's cool. Trust me. and it ended up being cool. And you guys, you know, accepted him in, like, you know, like family after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah,
absolutely.
he was innocent in the poor scenario.
But, so that's how it ties into you. He was your trainee, and that's the reason I didn't get fucking killed, is because you trained him better. So.
Yeah, because, I mean, I think if Jacob wanted to, no doubt he could probably whoop the man's ass. I mean, he's a big boy.
I mean, look,
there's a lot of times I thought that I was going to get it, you know. I was real hard on him in training. He just don't have a mean bone in his body, man. Thank God.
Yeah, really. I'm awful thankful of it. Let me tell you. But, you know, we're talking about Bailey and Bill and, like, the influential people in Wildside and Anarchy, and certainly Todd Sexton's been
actually, we didn't talk about Jeff. We just buried him for all our mistakes.
Oh, you have more to say about Bailey? Go ahead.
We can go ahead.
Put him over huge.
Yeah, we might have put him over right before we buried him. And blamed him for every mistake we've ever made.
That's really funny to see, like, just our differences in philosophy of life, because I don't see that as burying him just by saying he was influential enough for me to fucking wrongly beat up a guy.
Right. Well, I don't mean, you know, we're giving him a little credit, but mostly blame. That's all.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, I've seen a lot of him in me over the years, because, like, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's somebody that doesn't want to listen or learn, you know, when someone's talking. I mean, like when somebody's trying to break in and they've got the opportunity of somebody that's wasting their time trying to teach them and help them, and then they don't have respect or gratitude for that, even if you're the best athlete in the world. I just, you know, if you don't respect that, then I just have a hard time getting along with you, I guess. At least, I don't know, I can do it on any other show, but on the show in Royston, I just really have a hard time working with people like that. And one funny example, this is another Bailey influence story. I'm going to blame him. Because, you know, sometimes you just go off. Well, Lane Vassar, who is this big, genetically gifted, athletic-looking motherfucker from, where is he? I don't know. Like, his brother's a Georgia Bulldog on the football team. If that tells you anything about, like, his family and his background. This
got multiple
huge.
WWE tryouts and couldn't fucking slap his ass with both hands. Not kid,
right,
but
right.
that's a fact.
But a great athlete.
Yes, he was.
And he was in Royston, for a while. And every week it was something just that would piss me off about him. And then one night he hurt Strychnine in the ring. And, Strick don't get hurt much, so I'm checking on him. But when he comes to the back, instead of walking by me, he just shoves me out the way and says, move, on his way to get to Strychnine. And not like a playful shove, but just a dickhead shove, like total disregard for me being there, And I remember just saying, me and you, motherfucker, outside right now. And I walk out there, and, I'm not thinking fight. I'm thinking I'm going to chew this motherfucker's ass. And, either he's going to wake up and understand how the business works, or he's just not going to last long in it. And, I predicted that correctly, but, I take him back behind the building because, I'm not trying to, have this big yelling confrontation in front of everybody. And, hang on just. And we get back behind the building, and I'm leading him back there, and I got my back turned to him because I'm just taking him where I want to talk to him at. And I get back there to the center of the building, like as far away from any of the boys as you can imagine. And right before I turn around, the thought crosses through my mind that this guy might think I want to fight him. So I'm having this little dilemma. Now, do I do this the way I want to, or do I curve my tongue? And then I just thought to myself, what would Bailey do? And I just turned around and just lit into him, in my Bailey voice, too. And, told him everything I thought about him and his lack of respect and, unwillingness to learn, whatever. And, some people are like that. They just don't want to listen to anybody but who trained them, or some people don't listen to anybody. Yeah, and I think that was the case with him.
As a fucking,
but
especially
if you're going to work my fucking show, are you there?
Yeah, guys who are athletes, you run into that a lot, because
it's somebody with a body that failed at something else, so they think they want to be a wrestler, but they don't want to do any of the stuff because wrestling's a team sport. It takes everybody in that locker room to make everybody else, and if you're not willing to play on the team, then nobody's going to do anything to make you look like a fucking star, even if you are one.
No. And I'm not saying, fucking athletes shouldn't be in wrestling. No. Everyone who's in wrestling mostly should be an athlete. But I'm talking about people from other sports.
Right. Or people that just don't, that don't care about what we do. Athletes. If anybody ever wanted to be a fucking asshole, it should be him. If there's anybody whose athletic ability, towers above most other people, it's him. And he's the world's nicest guy to this day. And if I'm not mistaken, he's a millionaire now.
Yeah. That's a fact. So let's talk about AJ. I know your actions were limited, your interactions, rather. You worked with him in the early days a little bit. He was sort of on the way out, really, when you were getting your big pushes and stuff. But you definitely had a little bit of intersection. And, of course, just being involved in the operations of things over the last few years down there, you run into him over time several times. So, and you actually got to wrestle him one time at the Anarchy Seasons meeting. So, he's certainly the head of the Mount Rushmore of Wildside Wrestling. What are your thoughts beyond the fact that he kept his humbleness and his good attitude?
Well, I mean, that says so much about the guy because he is so talented. But yeah, you're right. He was kind of on the way out, and there was this time period where I was there every Friday night. But I didn't really know much about what went on Saturdays. I mean, I knew, I'd went to the Freedom Fight show, but, I was doing other shows on Saturdays and wouldn't really, I didn't really know anything about the TV. I mean, I knew it was there. I knew I wasn't booked on it. know enough at the time to know I should be there anyway. If that
Right.
takes you back. And I remember just watching him in a lot of main events with David Young and like Adam Jacobs right there at the end before he left. And just always a nice guy. Anytime he'd visit, he'd always have something positive to say about your match. Now sometimes he'd have something negative, but he'd always have something positive. And he never, he just never had to take that time, but he always did. And then, getting to work him and, in front of, let's see, I think the legit crowd was like 690. So we're going to say in front of 900 people in heaven with people hanging from the rafters. That was probably the biggest night of my career. Just because, and it wasn't just because I was getting to work AJ, because, when it comes to being a mark for the business, AJ's not my favorite wrestler. But, that's Ric Flair, obviously, and Ricky Morton, of course. But, that match was huge because he was like, he was definitely, like you say, the head of the Mount Rushmore of Wildside. And I remember Rain Man getting to work him in 2003, I believe, at one of the Fright Night shows. And I remember watching that match just thinking how happy I was for Rain Man at the time and thinking, I want that spot. And, 3, maybe 4 years later, I had it. And, it just meant the world, again, that they put me in that spot. Because basically what that means is they needed somebody to make AJ look the best coming home. And, hey, I take that as a huge compliment that they picked me.
Yeah, you guys tore the fucking joint down that night. And tempered
he had the flu.
Styles Class. No, that was the show before. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, he had the flu that night. And, still showed up, still worked his ass off. Couldn't be more grateful.
Yeah, that was fantastic. We got probably about a little over 10 minutes left on the recording time.
Wow.
So
time flies on having fun. Before we go any further, I want to thank John Phoenix for doing so much for me and just having positive things to say when he would, when he would talk to me. Always very nice, and he was always working with other people, but he always took the time to help out too. Super nice guy.
John Phoenix. What about seeing him a couple of weeks ago? That was crazy.
Man, it was amazing. What about me shaking Jason Cross's hand, walking away from him, not even knowing who the hell he was?
Well, there's the contrast. Jason Cross, he looked different. He'd aged. We've all aged. I look like fucking hell warmed over, but, we've aged. It happens. Some of us had some wild funny.
When I realized who he was, I had to go back and hug him all tight. And, man, I didn't mean no disrespect. Man, good to see you.
Yeah, but John Phoenix, that motherfucker, I think, hey, man, fucking keep it on the down low. And I know that our listeners are cool with this kind of stuff, so they're not going to tell nobody. I think John Phoenix is a vampire. I really do. That motherfucker has not aged a day since 2001. How is that possible? He's older than both of us, V. How is it possible?
Right, and come to think of it, his teeth are kind of pointed on the sides.
I've never seen him in the daylight.
Well, hey, let's quit talking about it. He might get pissed off. I'm looking for you.
Yeah, that's true. I'd have to invite him in, though.
And you're a devil expert anyway.
Hey, Dragon, let's watch some classic Wildside. Good to see you. And then I let him in, and he killed me.
Yep. Because you believe in the devil anyway, right? You're all into that, right?
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
No, that's a work. Oh, well, I gotta get with my wife and make sure she knows that that's just a work. Right?
No.
She thought you were the devil for a while, I guess. I guess that's a compliment too, right?
I have that capability from time to time. It really depends on it.
You ever just bust out on your wife in a Rev promo?
I have a time or two. It's never been met with great results.
Right. Mine are good. I don't do it much, but when I do, I get great results. Here's hoping she never listens.
So,
but don't get me wrong. She cracks when she cuts the promo on me. It gets great results too. I'm not trying to sound like the boss or anything. I mean, all the fellas know I am, but all the ladies listening probably think otherwise. So we'll please both worlds.
That's right. You gotta maintain the edge of reason. So back to the Wildside Q&A. I was going to go to this round, and we got trailed off somehow. But so Todd Sexton, here's a guy. He's been a pretty big influence back behind the scenes for a long time now, and more as a booker, but he had a pretty good run as a wrestler as well. What are your thoughts about old Todd?
Well, this should be interesting because for years, even though I thought Todd Sexton was, very good worker in the ring, always, probably always in better shape than me, always, I don't know, he lived close to the building, so it seemed like he was around a lot, and I guess it all stems from kind of thinking he was a dick when I first started. I kind of thought him and Tony were dicks, but I think that was just my personality, not knowing their personalities, I guess, looking back on
Fair.
it. Yeah, I thought him and Tony were both dicks for some reason, and I don't think that now, but I also thought for years that, or after the TNT thing anyway, that he couldn't get over on his own. And, it boggled my mind because, I've been in the ring with him. He's good in there. He's a leader, he knows what to do, when to do it, and the stuff backstage that he's been, a part of is, nothing short of amazing. Very smart guy, knows his shit, and, for the last, I guess, going on 6 or 7 years now, he hadn't had too much trouble getting over. I mean, pretty much anything he's done has gotten over and been part of a lot of great stuff since then. Not saying he wasn't part of some good stuff before then, but, I just wasn't a huge fan of his. I don't know, wasn't that I wasn't a huge fan. I wasn't a fan of the reactions that he got or didn't get out there. If that makes sense. Yeah, I'm sure that makes sense. So, yeah, for a long time, I guess I didn't give him the respect he deserved as a performer. But, man, he's been, he's had a lot to do with, I guess, writing or coming up with some of the best stuff I've ever done. I got to give him and Bill credit on that because, I've said recently when talking to other people that, Bill Behrens knows how to, write for Jeremy Vane better than anybody. He's always used me perfect. But then I had to think about it. Well, actually, he created Jeremy Vane and just kind of, booked the stuff as he thought my character would do them, and, it just worked out perfect. And, Todd understands, I guess Todd understands me as a performer better than probably anybody I've ever worked with. And, got to give him a ton of credit and a ton of thanks for everything. And he's always treated me with the utmost respect, which makes me feel bad about how I thought of him at first.
Todd's a good guy. I mean, anytime you're, really passionate about something and everybody's, competing for the same shit, kind of creatively.
And we were.
Stuff,
absolutely.
Yeah, tensions run high, but, Todd is a really good guy. He's actually going to be an upcoming guest, so I'm really excited to pick his brain about Wildside and Anarchy and just, the thoughts about booking in general from two guys who've done a fair share of booking. Should be an interesting episode. Got all that Adam Jacobs coming up here, and those are my next couple of books lined up. And, of course, we'll be probably coming back with a part 3 of you. I think we've got nearing down to the last 5 minutes, so I will let you choose the last person for the word association episode, and we'll come back and finish her up with a part 3, and we'll talk just whatever else we didn't get a chance to cover tonight.
Oh, I only get 3 parts, huh? You giving me a limit?
Well, Three has been the what we would have found as the best. Like, we did one with Bill that was 5 parts, and by the 5th part he was repeating himself. So I swore that never again would we do another 5 part. 3 would be the limit.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back to like volume 2 later.
If you listen to me long enough, I will wash, rinse, and repeat on you.
Exactly. That's what we're trying to avoid here. So anyway, your last pick on the word association, or any final thoughts that you want to get out, plugs, etc.
Yeah, I definitely want to plug APW every Friday night in Royston. Check it out on YouTube at youtube.com/alternativepro. We've recently added commentary there. It's not going to be so hard to sit through those matches with not a lot of noise going on. So if you've ever tried us and didn't like it, try us again. And if you still don't like us, I guess we'll hang a suggestion box. Just want to throw that out there. But the last guy from Wildside, there's so many. Let's do a funny one. Let's think of somebody that makes us laugh.
Well, there's quite a few.
Come on, throw me an oddball.
Throw you an oddball? Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure you didn't have anybody that you wanted to think in particular.
Well, as soon as we're done, as soon as time's up, I'll be like, damn, that guy. But you know how it is. You put me on the spot.
Okay. Mr. Delicious.
Always a super nice guy. I just never really spent a whole lot of time with him, outside of shows, I guess. I hear he just came to Georgia here recently and did the Jason Speed show.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, he came out of retirement or seclusion or whatever he's been in. I didn't see him.
He was a really nice guy, and he was a team player, dude. He was always up for anything. And he was the guy that was pushed other places.
Remember the strap beating he got from Jeff Lewis?
Oh, yeah, one of the worst I've ever seen anybody wear.
No, that's one of the best. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I would have hated to take it, and I probably wouldn't have had to lay there for it. But, some people are saying, oh, Jeff took advantage of it. Bullshit. Jeff made that spot money, and JC laid there and took it like a champ.
Yeah,
rarely will I defend Jeff Lewis.
Care about that angle.
Absolutely. I mean, rarely do I ever defend anything about Jeff Lewis, but, man, that was money. If you're going to bring something in and you're going to hit a guy with it, you got to make it count. And if it's a little leather belt like your daddy used, you're going to have to make it count. And he did. It was awesome.
He strapped that motherfucker across his bald head, man.
Yes, twice. He had like 4 welts.
God. That was rough.
Repeatedly.
That was brutal. I mean, it was awesome, but it was brutal.
Yeah, I wonder if that's on YouTube anywhere.
I don't know.
That would be something to plug.
No shit. All right, well, just under 2 minutes. Any final thoughts?
Yes, Andrew Thomas, a man who I haven't talked to in years. I hadn't seen him since Austin had his thing in Gwinnett for the TNA Bound for Glory. That's probably been 6 or 7 years ago now. But I saw him then briefly, but he was so busy he didn't get a whole lot of time to talk. But, man, he's another guy that I'm super thankful for. Always helpful. Had no reason to be.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like the first guy I ever think that come up to me and said, that looked like shit. Don't ever do that again. And I remember being so thankful because nobody tells you that. I mean, they do now because we're all around, but, nobody said it like that back then. He was getting ready for his next match, about to run right back out there. So he just stopped me and told me that real quick. The first real hard-nosed criticism I ever got. Always been thankful.
Standing. Well, folks, we are out of time. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week with more Jeremy Vane on the Wildside Chronicles. Keep one foot in the gutter, one fist in the goal, 2 horns in the air. I'm out.